Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into the JBR's YouTube channel. Meet my friend Noreen Young. She's the world famous puppet lady. She teaches puppetry, she creates puppets, she's a puppeteer herself. She's been in all sorts of different television shows. Her most famous one was Under the Umbrella Tree. There's Today's Special, Canadian Sesame Street, and a bunch of other things. She creates other puppets for other famous puppeteers like Ronnie Burkett. She's created fantastic character puppets like this one of this handsome devil. Hello, how are you today? Oh, nice to see you. I'm glad you could join in. Yay! All right, so we have a good friendship together. She's created these fantastic puppets for me, and one of them is a bunny rabbit, a pirate or miner kind of character, sort of a rough kind of character, and then we have a monster, a cat or flower, probably one of the most versatile ones of them. Again, they're sort of different templates, and then a fantastic bird puppet. Each one is going to have their own individual video to sort of tutorial, but the first 6 minutes of every video is going to be the same. This introduction, as well as how to sort of glue your puppet together safely, and sort of basic instructions that will apply to all 5 puppets. All right, so this is just the start of them. We've got a few more ideas underway, but we're going to just sort of put out these first 5 and see how they do, and go for there. Thanks very much. We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the video. This part of the video is going to show how to glue your pieces together. I'm going to start with the chin. The chin is very similar in the rest of the puppets, and all of the seams are virtually the same. You might notice how I take the 2 pieces and I sort of pull them back and forth together. That sort of cools the glue just a little bit and to make sure that it's spread out evenly. And then I take a hard press, and as I press as much of the surface area as possible to make sure that the glue is really stuck. You can actually feel a bit of heat coming through the foam a bit, and for me, when it starts to cool down, I know that's an indication that I can sort of lift my fingers away. So it takes about 5 seconds for it to sort of cool. If you've put too much glue on, if the bead is too thick, then it might take 2 or 3 times longer. Usually when something doesn't stick, it's because someone didn't wait long enough for it to cool, or they put too much on and still didn't wait long enough for that thickness to cool. So there you go, you can see the chin is pretty well done. Now that's going to be the bottom of the chin, and next you'll see where we attach sort of the mouth piece. So the mouth goes onto the clean side, so you don't see where the seams are at the bottom to make the chin curved. Is near the mouth. We want to keep that sort of to the bottom and people won't see it then. Now here we just put a little bead of glue all along the inside perimeter of what's going to be the chin, and stick and hold it for 5 seconds again. I've sped up the video a little bit. Now we're going to do the inside hinge. We put a bead of glue sort of from end to end, and then we put on the piece, the felt piece. We make sure it's stuck and dry, and then we put the bottom chin on. We line it up first, we put our bead of glue, and then we pull the felt tight. You want to make sure it's tight. If it's loose, then when you go to talk with your puppet, the jaw will drop down and it looks a little silly. So definitely make sure you pull that piece tight. Now we've got the strap for our fingers. So you want to put a bead of glue on either side and leave a loop in the middle to put your thumb or your finger. So just a dab of glue on each side. Now remember, these are hot, so if you're testing it out, try not to put your finger in hot glue. Maybe let it dry before you test it out. And there you go, fits on my hand beautifully. Hi everyone, we've got the bird puppet, and if you haven't seen the first half of the video, then please go back and watch it so you learn how to glue safely. What we're doing here is gluing our pieces together, our template. So starting off with the head and the beak, and assembling all of these pieces first. So what it is, it's a flat piece of foam. and with the triangles cut out of it, we start piecing them together, and that sort of shortens the distance between edges, and we end up with a bit more of a rounded head. We want to try and hide a lot of our seams behind feathers and fur, and felt and foam, and go from there. Right now we're putting in the roof of the mouth and the large part of the beak. That will be the top part. And now the smaller part of the beak is actually going to be the chin. And next we're going to start putting in our hinges and finger holds. So we only need a finger hold on the top one. So be careful about putting your fingers in there if the glue is still hot. You need 2 dabs on each side. There we go. And now you've got the start of your talking puppet. And here's the head, which we then sort of pinch and glue on. Might have to hold that a little extra longer and see how it sort of fits. You might need to trim in there a little bit too, just to make sure it's exactly the way that you want it. Now here are all the pieces that I was given in my kit, sort of sorting through which ones I want, and I'm going to start with the eyes. That sort of gives my character personality already. And I knew I wanted to do something a bit different with this, and I got some extra foam in my kit, so I'm going to put on some beak extensions. So really I put on a giant piece, and then I'm going to put a second layer on as well. What I want is sort of more of a hooked beak. I want it to be sort of a loudmouth parrot kind of character, so I want it to be, a bigger mouth, a loudmouth kind of thing. So the reason I put on all of the extra foam is then I could trim it down to exactly the right shape that I'm looking for. I put a little bead of glue on the tip, and when I pinch it, I end up getting sort of a more pointed beak. Now, the process of adding more foam and layering it in has left with a lot of seams and sort of unsightly parts on it that I didn't want. So putting on a piece of felt around all of the foam helps hide it. I also don't have to paint it later, which is great. Saves me a bit of time and effort. And here around the edges, I always put a piece of felt on that's way bigger than I need. Fold it into the areas that I want it folded, make sure it's all glued in tight, and then sort of cut and trim any of the excess off. And that makes for a much cleaner seam. So here you can see where I'm gluing the beak in just small pieces. I'm just putting a bit of glue on and then pulling it tight, the fabric pulling it tight, and then gluing a bit more and pulling it tight and tucking it in. In a moment we're going to get to the blue piece that goes inside the mouth. This helps to make a cleaner seam on the inside. It tucks away all of the white area to make sure it looks its tidiest. And then it strengthens the seam and where the bird talks. Right at the hinge. We've already put our hinge on the inside. Now it's time to put our hinge where people can see it. But make it nice and clean and snug. It really helps to make your puppet look more finished. There we go. Gluing little bit by little bit because the glue does dry pretty quick. Now putting on some accessories like tongues. I don't know why I said tongues. It's really just tongue. So here I was given a bunch of these strips in my kit, and I'm making feathers out of them and sort of cutting them to look the same. So I'm just sort of tracing out one shape again and again, cutting out 2 at a time, and then gluing them on so they're kind of like feathers sticking out the side. Again, I want this character to be a little bit more, fun, loud, flamboyant. Just sort of going a flashy puppet, if you will. There we go. So with the extra scraps, I'm just going to take them and start cutting them into other feather shapes and sort of layer them in with the other ones to make it look more full. I almost thought of this one as being like a puppet mask almost. The kind of character I was thinking. And that's really what you want to do with a good puppet, is to give it a good personality, give it a funny voice. These are the kind of things that you'd want to look in the mirror and sort of talk to yourself with the puppet, play with around with a few funny voices, sort of match your speech to the way that your hands move, and really have fun with it. Telling your puppet jokes. If you can get your puppet to make you laugh, you can get your puppet to make other people laugh too. All right, so looking at what other pieces that I've got, I want to give this character just giant mohawk kind of thing. We want these pieces sort of sticking out everywhere. Have some extra little pom-poms. Put them everywhere. More feathered eyebrows. So next in the painting department, when we're painting, we want to be really careful about trying to get into just the areas that we want to paint. We don't want to overpaint our feathers. We don't want to lose any of the foam. You do want to make sure that if you have any of the soft foam that we did our template with, if there's any of that exposed, you really do want to try and paint that in. That stuff has a tendency to yellow over time if it's not protected with some paint. So try not to leave any of the original foam exposed. You really want to try and get that all painted in. Now, glue doesn't stick to wet paint at all. You really need to make sure that if you're going to glue anything else on after you've painted, that you've given it 24 hours to dry, 12 hours, quite a long time, or you'll find it's just not sticking, and it'll be frustrating for you. It might even fall off, sort of later in the day. It just didn't get a good adhesion. So be mindful of that. The paint itself sort of fills in a lot of the cells or pockets of within the foam. So it's not like the glue can really seep into the foam anymore if it's already been painted. And if it's still a little bit of moist inside those areas, even though if it sort of feels touch dry, still the paint won't stick. Well, we're nearly done this one. Alright, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Have yourself a wonderful day. This puppet's ready for Mardi Gras.